Hi guys, welcome to our second risk management in the lockdown video looking at cybercrime risks. And as I promised you in the last video, I'm going to give you a top 10 easy wins for things you can do to minimise your risks relating to cybercrime, and some other hints and tips of things you can do in the longer term to reduce your exposure in those areas. So kicking off, top tip number 1. Make sure you educate all your employees, all your subcontractors, and all your agents, etc., into what your risk management strategies for cyber risks are, so they're aware. This is something that only works if everybody in your firm, everyone you work with your firm is doing it. Otherwise, there are weaknesses people will get in. Tip number 2. Be skeptical of any email from an unfamiliar source. From an unknown sender, or even if it's a familiar person but someone who wouldn't normally contact you in that way. Look very carefully at the email. Just look at it. Are there any links attached to it which look odd? Is the email right? Is the address right, etc.? Those tend to be a lot of the sources of emails with misleading and dangerous attachments and viruses, etc. Tip number 3. Check senders' email addresses. This relates to the point I just made. Very easy to do. If you're looking at an email, particularly on a computer, if you hover your mouse over the sender's name, it should bring up the full email address. Look at that carefully. Look for any spelling errors in there. Is it from like a random email address at the end? It should, if there's something wrong with it, it should be fairly easy to spot. Fingers crossed. Tip number 4. Don't trust any website that doesn't have the little black locked padlock symbol in the top corner of the address bar. That little symbol tells you it's secure and verified. If the padlock is unlocked, that means it's unverified and you're potentially on a dangerous site. Okay? Tip number 5. Look out for unusual grammatical spelling errors or grammatical errors, or like any error like that in an email or in a website you've been sent to. There's one I've seen spoofing a government website where they spelt one of the title words wrong. So it's things like that you've got to look out for. Quite often people doing these, their first language might not be English. If you're looking at an English page and you can see some obvious spelling errors or grammatical errors, words, the sequence of the words is wrong, etc., that's normally a sure sign that you might be on a cloned website, or that the email you've received is not legit. Now, tip number 6. Report any suspicious emails. Again, train all your staff to do this. Report suspicious emails. Make sure you have someone who's responsible for dealing with those, who knows what they're looking at, and that any suspicious emails reported to them. Tip number 7. Install good anti-phishing filters and good antivirus software. I know it's easy said, it's obvious, but it is so valuable and it does work. Tip number 7. So that was tip number 7. Tip number 8. Keep all software and apps up to date and upload the patches. A lot of the ways people get in, and particularly some of the particular examples relating to coronavirus people have seen, it's been through people using software and websites and technology which is not up to date. So there's vulnerabilities there that have been identified, patches have been out, updates have been circulated, people haven't downloaded them. It's a particular problem for companies working on big systems where there's a centralised updating system and it doesn't get done often enough. It's something you've got to watch. It's one of the easiest ways in for these guys. Next tip. If you don't already have one, purchase a good cyber insurance policy. Now, you want to be really careful with these because they're a relatively new product. Each one is slightly different. There's no standard wording in these, so it's worth getting a good broker to help you look at those. If you're not sure, then speak to us. We can recommend brokers, but also we can have a look at a policy proposal form for you if you want a second opinion. Happy to help. And last of all, if you're setting up any kind of new transfer and you're doing it via email, or you're setting up electronically, before you send any large amount of money, or the other party sends you any large amount of money, do a trial transaction, just a random small sum of money, so 12p, 14p, something like that, and then make sure the party receiving it then contacts the party who sent it to confirm that that's come through correctly. But but make sure when you get them to confirm, you do it via telephone or face-to-face or via video conferencing call. If you do it via text or if you do it via email and there's already a scam involved in this, someone's system's been hacked, that will be intercepted and changed as well. So that reduces it. But if you get that right, and if you do that test every single time, that means all the transaction fraud you could be faced with is gone. Brilliant tip. Right, so some further wider things you want to think about. Again, it sounds pretty obvious. Make sure you have good IT support, whether it's in-house or external. You have people who know what they're talking about, know what they're doing, who can help you react quickly if there's a problem, but also help you preempt problems. The people who can get the patches sorted for you, make sure everything's up to date, tell you who the good antiviral suppliers are, etc. Next thing to do, and again, good IT support will be able to help you with this, is to simulate an attack on your system. So effectively, you get the nice guys to attack your system so they can tell you where the faults are, and then you can learn from that and put that in place for next time. Also, assign people responsibility so you have a plan if you are attacked. So people have responsibility for certain roles. Who's reporting what to whom? Simple but effective. Next thing, strengthen your IT perimeter with good security software, as already discussed, but also, where possible, use multi-factor authentication. So that means not just somebody putting in a password, which is Granny's initials. It means a password plus fingerprint identification plus random code identification. That double verification system makes it much harder for hackers to breach. Next point, consider possibly setting up data cells. It's quite low tech, but it can be quite effective. So each team within your organisation or a group of people within your organisation, have them working off a set cell of data and information that only they use. So that if one of them is hacked, it's only their cell that gets hacked. Have everyone else on different cells. So if you've got different teams which might need access to the same information, replicate that information into different cells. That works doubly well. It means if one team is hacked, obviously it limits the damage, but it also means if one team is hacked or there's a ransomware attack on one cell, it's easier to construct that information because you've already got it saved in the other cells. So it's probably worth having backup cells as well. It's a very simple approach, but it's very effective. What else have we got? Looking at more technical aspects, so strengthen your remote access management systems. That's something IT guys can help you with. Also, whitelisting IP addresses. This is again quite technical, but the idea is you have an approved list of IP addresses. So if somebody tries getting into your system from an IP address the system doesn't know, it at least raises an alert, even if it blocks them. Other than that, that's pretty much the key points we wanted to make. If you want any more information, we would recommend you go to the National Cybercrime Centre. You can go to www.ncs.gov.uk and you'll find on there they've got detailed information on mitigating malware and ransom attacks, phishing attacks, dealing with suspicious emails and messages, and preparing your organisation for remote working. A bit late in the day, but it's worth going in there, checking what you've done, seeing how it works. Okay, I know it's a lot to take in. You may have seen already, but I've also produced this guidance as a written document, which you can get from our website. You can get from our LinkedIn page and our Facebook page. So if you want to go through any of this again, you'll find it all in there. Anyway, until next time, take care everyone, stay safe. Bye.